Hello guys and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined by a man who has had possibly his best haircut I've ever seen. It is Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner looking suave as anything today.
Yeah, you look good, feel good, perform good. So I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. Whether I do well on this podcast or not, that remains to be seen, buddy. That remains to be seen. But I am doing fantastic. We are currently on I think, hour 36 of nonstop rain here in northeastern Pennsylvania. But as we're recording this is Wednesday. I want to wish everybody a happy Wednesday night Azumi, because Azumi is going to be on AEW TV tonight, which I'm super pumped for. But brother, I am doing well. How's everything with you? And can you please explain to our YouTube video watchers why you were just a white dot in the middle of a black square, good sir?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I use my my phone, as most of you know, as my camera simply because my webcam is just it is an appalling piece of crap in the most polite way. So I use my phone because it has a better camera, and I personally think it looks a lot better. It looks a lot clearer. But unfortunately, I've been having a couple of issues with the connection on it at the moment. So it keeps flicking in and out. And I thought for consistency's sake, at least until I can get a proper adapter for it, then it would just be better to just have my my avatar there on the screen. So hopefully that is okay for our YouTube viewers. You still get everything else, don't you worry. You still get the match graphics. You still get the beautiful Matt Turner's face. You just don't get to see my spotty, terrible bed hair. So there we go. But apart from that, my friend, it's all good in the UK. Again, as I mentioned on our alternate commentary, we are experiencing something of a heat wave at the moment. Our front lawn is pretty much dead now. I don't know whether we're going to be able to resurrect it. It is a very nasty colour at the moment, something akin to a brown orange, which is not healthy. I'm reliably informed by those people that actually do gardening. But yeah, again, we can't complain. We can't complain. So quite the contradiction to yours anyway, to your weather.
Yeah, my dad. I was talking to my this past weekend was Mother's Day. We're here in the United States. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms, and every day, really, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. But I went to go see my parents, and my dad was saying that he's watching these videos on YouTube, and he did say that your webcam is way better than mine. I said, Rob uses his phone. I said, I use my actual camera on my laptop. He's like, yeah, his picture looks a lot clearer than yours. I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Good to know. So once you get that up and running, Rob Good, I'm sure you're going to be looking dapper as ever, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mr. Turner, of course, or Mr. Rue, should I say, a very complimentary gentleman. But Matt, we are here to talk about Marigold, of course, the post-Mayu Iwatani debut Marigold shows. And because, of course, it is the end of Golden Week, Marigold, we're all over the place running shows. We had a show on the 5th, the 6th, the 10th, and the 11th. So much happening. We've had a title change. We had a heel Magenta. We've had title matches announced for Hokkaido. We've had Mayu Iwatani's post-Korakuen Hall dates confirmed. But most importantly, perhaps, we have had the full card announced for Shine Forever in Yoyogi, which we're going to be starting off the news with today. An absolutely stacked card for a simultaneous celebration of the first anniversary show for Marigold, but also a celebration of the retirement of one of the greats of Joshi wrestling in Nanae Takahashi. And that's something that we're going to be talking about a little bit today, because obviously she was on definitely 3 of these shows, I think all 4 of these shows actually. And this is a woman who is quite clearly having the absolute time of her life. And it's so nice to see, and we've said this multiple times about how, from a selfish standpoint, we want to see Nanae continue because, she has the room lights up when she enters at the moment. And again, it's such a difference from her second run in Stardom. But again, it's so nice to see someone actually make the choice to call time on her career, and what a career it's been. So we're going to be looking at that. going to be talking about her opponent that she's going to be facing at Shine Forever. But unfortunately, we are going to start our podcast today with a little bit of sad news because, as I imagine most of you know who are listening to this, we lost a legend of pro wrestling very recently in ECW's Sabu. Matt, I know he was a huge favorite of yours, and obviously a callback to one of your favorite times in wrestling, obviously being an ECW kid through and through. So just before I know I'm going to throw to you, Matt, obviously our thoughts, prayers, and everything else go out to Sabu, his family, and everyone else who is connected with Sabu at this really quite awful time.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of great tributes pour in for Sabu, and I just kind of want to give mine from a massive fan perspective. I always say I think I caught ECW at the perfect time in my life. I was like 13, 14 years old. I was like 95, 96. Sabu was my bridge to ECW. He was like the first wrestler I've seen in ECW. And then I went in, as you know, Rob, I have a very addictive personality. And then I fell down, watching the Sandman, Shane Douglas, the Public Enemy, the Eliminators, RVD, Dreamer, so on and so forth. But it was Sabu that caught my eye. And what it was is I always used to read the after magazines, Inside Wrestling, One Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It was mostly WWF and WCW with some Japan stuff, but they would, every now and again, they would do an indie spotlight. And I'd see these pictures of this guy, Sabu, with these scars. I wasn't sure if these scars were real. I was like, this guy's nuts. Like, this is just crazy. Like, that's just his look alone, like what he was doing, so far ahead of his time. And then, I grew up and still live in northeastern Pennsylvania, about 2 hours away from Philadelphia, about an hour away from Allentown, and about 10 minutes away from Scranton, where ECW would run a lot of shows. So again, I think I was 13, 14 years old, been a diehard wrestling fan my whole life. And I was just going through the channels one day or one night because ECW would come on like around 11 o'clock or midnight at night. And all of a sudden there was Sabu. I was like, this is the guy that I've been reading in magazines about. But then you're seeing him moonsault tables. You're seeing him having insane matches with Cactus Jack. And I'm like, oh, I know who that is because I watched a little bit of WCW, but mostly just watched WWE, WWF then. And again, keep in mind, this is 1995. Most of the wrestlers I'm watching are plumbers, garbage men. That's their gimmick. That was their gimmick. I mean, the garbage men, race car drivers.
Baseballs.
Yeah, exactly. Baseballs, you make a difference, Fatu. It was very, and I just thought, okay, this is what wrestling is. I'm just going to stay with it. Thank God there was Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect. You had the great wrestlers there that kept me involved, but you had all these really wild gimmicks. And all of a sudden, here comes Sabu, and I was like, I fell down the rabbit hole. I'm like, wow, this is what wrestling could be. It could be something different. And they were talking about almost like the first, and again, this is 95, where the internet was kind of just in its infancy. They're talking about like the first ever real internet dream hardcore match between Cactus Jack and Sabu. And they're suplexing tables onto each other. They're fighting in the crowd. I've never seen that. Fighting in the crowd. I'm like, this was just wild, smashing beer bottles off each other's heads. I was like, again, 13, 14, 15 years old, you're looking for something different. You're getting into your rebellious years. So, and it just happened to hit me at the perfect time. And I just became a massive fan of Sabu, became a massive fan of ECW. I watched every show from then on out, from 95 until ECW wound up folding back in the early 2000s. And, again, it was because of Sabu that I started watching ECW, that I started going to ECW shows. I got into tape trading. I then found Hayabusa, which then was my bridge into Japanese wrestling in 1996. And here we are in 2025. And obviously, not only have I not stopped with my love for Japanese wrestling, it's gotten better or worse, Rob, depending on how you look at it. So like Sabu was really my bridge into like everything. It was like, because again, I just thought it was just WCW. And I knew there was other promotions out there. I thought it was just like WCW and WWF or, WWE, WWF back then. And then it was just like watching Sabu and then just be like, this is what wrestling can be. You could have these no rules matches, which is absolutely insane. And I was just listening to an interview that Dave Meltzer did, and he was talking about the late, great Terry Funk. And when Terry Funk was in his late 40s, early 50s, he knew that he needed to change his style. And he watched Sabu, and he credits Sabu of changing and influencing his style, which is insane to say that like Terry Funk gives so much credit to Sabu for influencing him when Terry Funk has influenced so many wrestlers, past, present, and future, which I found that really interesting. I was like, yeah, Terry Funk always kind of had that wild side to him, but it really went to another level in like 94, 95 when Sabu first started getting popular. So I was like, wow, that I didn't know, but it was something really interesting. And I was kind of having a conversation with it was because I found out on Sunday. I think I text you and then I text Amber and I said, Sabu passed away. And Amber said, oh, that's really sad. I'm like, she doesn't know who Sabu is until I'm going to tell her. I'm like, yeah, we were at his last match, remember? She's like, oh, that's him. And then I started to be like, he did this, he did this, he did this, he did. And I was like, man, I was a massive fan of Sabu. And you didn't realize how much he influenced me as a fan. I was like, you know how everybody breaks tables in wrestling? She's like, yeah. I'm like, he was pretty much the one that, and if he didn't invent it, he made it really popular and kind of the cool thing to do. Like that was his deal. So, I mean, you look at everything that he did, and then even post ECW, I forgot about that great run he had in TNA, and then those ECW one night stand matches, the one with the Rhino and the one with Rey Mysterio, which was just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the guy can work with anybody. Didn't matter if it was Taz, Cactus Jack, Terry Funk in a regular match, or in my opinion, the greatest barbed wire match of all time back in 1997, Born to be Wired. Shane Douglas he can work with, Lance Storm. He had a great match at November to Remember. I believe it was 99 with Chris Candido, like an actual wrestling match. The guy can work with anybody. I mean, he was just really ahead of his time, influenced so many people, did so many insane things. Like I remember him doing a double jump Topai Con Hilo into the crowd and then missed the opponent and then almost hit fans, but then went through a table. Like that triple jump moonsault, I don't think I've ever seen anybody even try to attempt it. Like the Arabian press is something that Sami Zayn, El Generico does, Christopher Daniels used to do, like just influence so many people. And it's just the guy's legacy is going to live on forever. And again, I was such and I'm kind of just going through all this stuff in my head over the past couple of days of how a massive fan I was of ECW. Rob, I remember when I graduated high school in 2000, as I got and I remember underneath my shirt and tie, I snuck an ECW shirt on underneath it. And as I was leaving the stage after I got my diploma, I did the Rob Van Dam gimmick and then the Sabu gimmick. That's how much of a massive fan I was. But I mean, I just remember watching matches where like him and Van Dam versus the Eliminators. They had these series of matches in late 96, early 97 called Tables and Ladders. And it wasn't like the TLC matches you see now because there were it was basically tables and ladders are legal. Like you win by pinfall. I remember Joey Styles hyping up said matches and saying not only are tables and ladders legal, they're encouraged. Now I'm like, well, no, duh, it's ECW. There's no rules. But I just remember like they might have been the precursor to the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian TLC matches we would see 3 or 4 years later. But like my one huge, big impression of Sabu and the memory that's going to live with me forever is when people talk about video packages with music videos, like the great ones that have happened over the last 20, 30 years, the number one everyone goes to is Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock for WrestleMania 17, My Way from Limp Bizkit. It's a great video package. But for me, it's Taz, Sabu, Metallica's King Nothing. Rob, this is I've been looking for this video online for almost 20 years to the point where I couldn't find it, that I had to buy a Blu-ray comp of ECW TV 1997, which I just got a couple months ago, and I wind up watching it, and I had goosebumps as if I was sitting in my living room, 15 years old, watching this again. And how it plays out is late 1996, there was a lot of rumors that ECW was going to have a big show in 1997. So the show starts out on ECW TV. I believe the name of the show was called Crossing the Line Again, where Paul Heyman and all the baby faces were in the ring. Taz and then all the heels were on the crow's nest in the ECW arena. Paul Heyman starts talking about this big show, and I'll never forget him. Perfect Paulie Dangerously, and he goes, the main event of that show is going to feature that man Taz versus that man Sabu, and it's a match that they built to for a year. And they cut to the King Nothing video of Sabu versus Taz. And some of it's leaked a little bit now over the past few days on social media. If you can find it, watch it. Because to me, that's what my childhood and my teenage years were all about. So even though the man Terry Brunk has passed on, the legend of Sabu will live on forever. And I just want to say thank you, Sabu, for making me such a huge fan, not only of ECW, not only of yours, but basically branching out and showing a young me what pro wrestling can and should be. Because at the end of the day, pro wrestling, my brother, is for everyone.
Absolutely. And obviously, I just want to echo what I said earlier. Rest in peace, Sabu. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends at this awful, awful time. Let's move on then to talk about the big news coming out of Marigold. And that is, of course, the card for Shine Forever 2025. The full card was announced, and we mentioned this in the previous episode of the Marigold Standard, that we assumed that there will be a press conference this week, and they did announce it, I believe, the day after. So there you go. We have got a full card. The full card is as follows. So we have Seri Yamaoka versus Takumi Iroha. That should be enough, to be perfectly honest. But we have an 8-woman tag, Chanyota, Arini Yamanaka, Ryoko Zakimura, and Nagisa Takibana versus the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, Misa Matsui, and Megaton. We have the debut of Shino Omokai, though it is worth noting she is only going by Shino at the moment. She will be debuting in a singles match, no title on the line, versus Mai Sakurai. Koki Amare, in channeling apparently her inner John Cena to return from a torn ACL in 5 months. She will be teaming with Kazuna Tanaka against the team of Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. We have another Marigold versus Marvelous 5-on-5 tag team match. Team Marigold, Natsumi Shozuki, now Ishikawa, Hummingbird, Rea Seto, and Kamomo Minami will be taking on the Team Marvelous team of Ai Hozan, Senka Akatsuki, Sora Ayami, Maria, and Riko Kawahata. And then at the top, 3 absolutely incredible matches. Marigold Superfly Championship on the line. Victoria Yuzuki defending against Mayu Iwatani. Marigold World Championship match. Utami Hayashishita defending against Mirai. And then finally, Nanae Takahashi's last match. She will indeed have a singles match, and she will be taking on Miku Aono. That show, Shine Forever, will be a Wrestle Universe pay-per-view. The link to buy the pay-per-view is on Wrestle Universe as we speak. Shine Forever 2025, a glorious celebration taking place on the 24th of May in Yoyogi National Stadium number 2. Matt, in terms of a card that Marigold could have put together, this is a card of the year waiting to happen. Aside from the 3 main matches, which I imagine we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about, that Koki Amare return tag team match is going to be great. Seri Yamaoka versus Takumi Iroha. Obviously, there's been a lot of hype about Shino and how she is going to be another super rookie in the same sort of ilk as Seri Yamaoka. So that's really exciting. And she's obviously across the ring from one of Marigold's most consistent performers in Mai Sakurai. Another installment of the Marigold versus Marvelous feud that has been so good over the last couple of weeks. Genuinely, this could be in the same conversation as All-Star Grand Queendom as a real show of the year contender. I am very, very, very excited for this, brother.
Yeah, jam-packed, and a great way to end the month. And I mean, this is, the great way to end Marigold's first year with this solid show. You're absolutely right. I mean, you look at those 3 main matches: when Nai Takahashi versus Miko Ano, Mirai and Utami Hayashishita, which I'm excited but also concerned for. Which
I know why.
Yeah, basically very much like Sai Kamatani and Tam Nakano. Like, what more can they possibly do on the big blow off on their big match? So I hope that they're safe, but I know they're going to give what very well can be Marigold's best match in their 1-year history. I mean, the way that's being built, and Utami's wrestling, she's been wrestling on another level for quite some time, but Mariah's at her absolute best right now, and it's going to be a big spotlight for her to really prove to herself that she's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. Seri Yamaoka versus Takumi Iroha. That is a match that I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and I'm obviously not going to complain. One quick question, partner. I don't know if it's listed there because I haven't seen it, and I don't know if they have the rules yet. that Marigold versus Marvelous, is that going to be the 5-on-5 like they did in Cork and Hall, like the Cibernetico style, or is it just going to be a 10-person straight up tag?
I don't know as of yet. Nothing has been confirmed
I didn't
by
think so.
Marigold at the moment, but I mean, let's face it, I have faith that whatever these two companies do together is going to be great. So I have no issues, irrelevant of what it is.
No, neither do I, but I know that match will be Marvelous and Gold. See what I did there?
Look
See what
at
I did there?
you.
Now, I made mention when I did the Stardom cast last week, when I just kind of ran through this card. And as I was going through the card, it kind of hit me all at once that we don't know what's going to main event. We don't know what's going to co-main event. We're guessing that either way you slice it, that the main event and co-main event is going to be Miko and Nanai and Mirai and Utami. How would they flip it? I don't know. I was like, Miko gets the win here. And Utami gets the win here. We haven't talked about it in about a good month or so, because we kind of got teased quite a bit at the beginning of the year that they kept giving us a little bit of Miko Ano versus Utami and these tag matches, like just a little bit to kind of like, come on, we want to see it. We want to see it. Rob, it's a very good possibility coming out of this first chapter in Marigold that the two big wrestlers everybody's talking about is Miko Ano and Utami Hayashishita. That could be the program we go into the summer. I'm just saying, buddy. I'm just saying it would make sense, right? I mean, if you have one win the co-main event and one win the main event of their biggest show, probably this year.
I mean, Utami and Miko Ano. Yeah, Miko Ano and Utami. I'm just thinking because I so desperately want that as a singles match. And it's very much akin to New Japan, where they kept Naito and Ospreay away from each other for so long. It was the one singles match we didn't seem to have for the longest time. And, you know, you wanted to build anticipation towards that. And obviously there is that anticipation for this feud. But when do you pull the trigger? Now, obviously, a lot of this depends on the result of this match. And Matt, you mentioned what else can these two do to each other? And I agree, short of Mirai literally ripping Utami's head off her shoulders, I don't actually know what else these two women can do, because they have absolutely battered each other over the course of the Rising Spirit Tour. But aside from that, and this is something else that we mentioned last week, both women are insanely over. So if Mirai wins, which I think is the least likely of the three scenarios, the time limit draw, the Utami win, and the Mirai win, I think Mirai winning is the least of those. What you've got to think about now, especially if you're Marigold and Rossi Ogawa, is how are the crowd going to react if Mirai loses, because she's super over. Now, let's assume for a moment that Utami Hayashishita wins. And if Utami Hayashishita wins, I am absolutely fine with that, believe it or not. But her versus Miko Ano, and they're positioning Miko Ano at the moment. You know, she's the one having all the singles matches and winning comfortably. You know, she is the one having Nanae Tagashi's final match. That has not been selected randomly. There is a reason that Miko Ano has been put in that position, and I love that. Because you could have very well held off on the Mayu and Nanae match and made that the match for Shine Forever. The fact that they've put the trust in Miko Ano really does signal intent for her. She's going to be in that red belt picture, that crimson red belt picture soon. When do you do it? Now, do you have Miko Ano win the Dream Star? And do you have her challenge Utami at First Dream on the 3rd of January? Do you have these two face off in the final of the Dream Star? Whenever they do it, it's going to be brilliant, because Marigold have done a fantastic job of keeping these two separate.
Rob, I want to throw something out there. You talked about all the possible results for Utami versus Mirai. The way that's being built up, there could be a double knockout. We've seen it work with Syuri and Utami.
Yeah.
The way this is being built, you'd be like, if you just watch the match as a whole and it goes to double knockout, like, oh, that was a great match, double knockout. But obviously we watch everything, and the way it's being built, you're like, of course it's going to go to a double knockout. Why wouldn't it?
I mean, again, my only concern with that is people are obviously then going to go, oh, he's just reusing the Utami and Syuri thing. Yeah, well, if it
were 4 years ago.
Coffee and A, get an A. It's wrestling. What is unique in wrestling? And who would? It's not like look at Jey Uso and Gunther, and I know this is a really weird parallel, but I am going somewhere with it. Jey Uso defeated Gunther with a rear naked choke. A rear naked choke he has never used before, ever. The champion submitted it immediately, and the entire crowd went, huh? Because it made no sense. There'd been no build. Obviously, Gunther had used that on other people, but Jay had never used that before, and suddenly he's submitting the champion. There was a disconnect between the story and the result. However, as me and Matt have just said, you've just got to pick one of the matches that we're going to talk about today. And you will see that these two women are absolutely bludgeoning each other. So actually, the idea of a double knockout makes perfect, logical booking sense. Now, yes, you might argue, oh, Rossi's having his cake and eating it. Why are you complaining? We're getting Mariah versus Utami. It's going to be great. And we know that Mariah is going to be a future Red Belt champion. However, as we mentioned in the previous episode, we need Utami to have that cemented run at the top of the company. She's the ace of this company. Having a great match here, then going on to have 2, 3, 4 more title defenses, but before she then again has Mirai, and I think it will be Mirai that eventually dethrones Utami, simply because of, look at how over she is. I think Utami needs that. However, whatever the result is, this match is going to be incredible. And of course, then the issue becomes, what main events? You've got this blistering hot red belt feud that, in my opinion, the hottest crimson red belt feud the company's had in its short history. But you've also got Nanae Takahashi, the living legend of Joshi Puresu, in her final match. You could make an argument for either of those two matches main eventing, and I don't think there would be any sort of kickback for whichever main evented, because both have them very substantial merits to main event this show.
Yeah, Rob, real quick question. I don't mean to kind of get on a tangent here, because you made mention about the double knockout from 4 years ago with Utami and Syuri. I just started watching Stardom right around then. Obviously, you were doing the Stardom podcast. When that match happened with that result, was there backlash from the fans? Because, I mean, it's wildly considered one of the greatest Stardom matches of all time. But like the instant reaction, were people upset over that finish, or because the match was so good that it didn't matter?
Ultimately, the entire sort of wrestling sphere was very much in awe of the match and how good it was.
Was just wondering. I didn't know if I ever asked you that question before, my man. So it just popped up. It just popped up in this this mind that's sporting this new hairdo.
I know that Chris wasn't a fan of it, and his thinking was, if you've got that here, then it's setting a precedent that any match that goes to a draw, the challenger has the opportunity to go, well, hang on, why did Syuri get an extra, 15, 20 minutes on top of the time limit, and why can't I? And the argument against that was that this was a unique circumstance, and the emotion of that, and having the ordinarily stoic Rossi Ogawa getting swept up in the emotion of the match, I think made it suitably unique that it was a one-off. And again, if this goes to additional time, I'm not going to say no. However, if it does end in a double knockout, then I don't think you're going to have anyone who's saying that's not a believable finish.
I'm excited for it, buddy. I'm excited. Then the next day I'm going to go see Pantera and Metallica. So that's going to be a fun 2-day stretch for me, brother.
I'm going to tell you now that this match will be more brutal than all of those bands that you've just mentioned.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That just goes to show just how brutal I think this match is going to be. Victoria Yuzuki and Mayu Iwatani is obviously a huge match, because on the one hand, you've got Mayu Iwatani, who, we saw how many tickets her coming over to Marigold shifted. We know how big of presence she is in Marigold. You've got Victoria Yuzuki, who's the future ace of this company without a shadow of a doubt. Who takes this belt? Because Victoria Yuzuki obviously wants to prove to Mayu that she's grown. She's different than the Victoria Yuzuki that was a member of Stars, under Mayu's tutelage, of course, but also, Does she have the legs cut out from underneath her if she loses to Mayu? Alternatively, does it up the stock of the Superfly Championship if Mayu Iwatani holds it? Obviously, we are going on this mission of Mayu Iwatani wanting to be a Grand Slam champion in Marigold as well as she was in Stardom. Does that start with the Superfly Championship? I just don't see Mayu losing, and obviously we'll go into a more in-depth preview next week. I don't see Mayu losing so early into her Marigold run. And I think that this story with Mayu and Victoria Yuzuki, whenever Mayu does retire, does decide to leave the ring, I could easily see Victoria Yuzuki being her final singles match, because I think you could really do an intertwining student and teacher sort of storyline here, and this could be where it starts.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, obviously, we'll do our full preview and predictions next week. But I mean, just thinking about it, Mayu does want to win the Grand Slam, and she needs to do that before her NXT run. So my guess is that so it's got to happen quick. It's going to happen quick. So maybe by even the end of the year, before she becomes Kane's daughter, as that's been heavily rumored, only between us, or maybe even just me.
Has it though? Has it been heavily rumored?
Just us, and maybe not even us, maybe just me, Kane Iwatani. So, which is weird because I was watching a Kane match there from the late '90s the other day, and I was like, Mayu's stolen all of Kane's spots. Have you noticed that? Like the moonsault, the Dodon Pie, the super kick, the two-step drag. Those are all Kane's moves.
Absolutely.
Kane Iwatani. The big pitching machine. Oh, man.
No, it writes itself. It writes itself.
And then when the pitching machine throws the pitch, the fire comes out. Oh, anyway. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. That I think Mayu's going to get the win. But again, we'll do our full preview next week, partner, which I'm so excited for.
Moving on then to the last little bit of news that I want to just go into. Marigold did announce their Hokkaido tour, a mini tour of 3 shows. 2 shows on the 17th and 1 on the 18th. Some really, really, really big matchups. There was a double prelude tag as well that we're going to be talking about in the preview shows after we've looked at our results a little bit later on. Unfortunately, one person that is going to be missing that set of shows is now Ishikawa. She is going to be missing the 17th of May and the 18th of May due to illness. I wasn't sure if this was official because I did read it somewhere and then it was deleted. But I have found something that has come up that says she will be missing those shows due to illness. Initially, I did wonder if this was a way of Marigold writing Gigaton out and putting now Ishikawa on the cards, but it does look like both women are in fact ill. So obviously we wish her nothing but the best, and we hope she returns fit and healthy as soon as possible, Matt.
Yeah. I've noticed that it was both Naoi Ishikawa and Gigaton, which I thought was really weird that they both fell ill. So maybe they went to dinner together, and that could have been a possibility. Maybe they were sharing a soda pop together and cross-contamination and got sick, Rob. That would be, again, purely speculation.
Absolutely. And of course, we are laboring under the apprehension that these are the same people. We don't know that. That hasn't been confirmed to us by anyone. It is pure speculation and
or denied.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we don't want to be sued for slander, obviously. So we will move on hastily. Let's move on to the results then. As apparently every time I change the banner, my face gets removed from the screen. So that's going to be fun throughout the show. But we are starting with the show from the 5th of May, night 7 of the Rising Spirit 2025 tour. And we are coming at you from the B&G Ocean Center in Kurihara in Miyagi. Now, the attendance itself was not announced. It is the first time that Marigold have run the venue, and Kurihara as a whole, with the remainder of the shows that Marigold have run in Miyagi, all emanating from Sendai Pit, all 5 of them, one of which we're going to be talking about in a moment. This show was a homecoming show for Riara, and it'll be the first time she has ever wrestled in her hometown of Kurihara, having only ever wrestled at Sendai Pit in Miyagi previously. In terms of the results, then we open with a singles match. Misa Matsui defeating Nagisa Takibana with a fisherman's suplex in 7 minutes and 37 seconds. In a four-way match, Mai Sakurai defeated Chiaki, Minami Yuki, and Ryoko Sakimura, submitting Sakimura with the STF in 5 minutes and 33 seconds. In a tag team match, Celine Flora, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka defeated Chika Goto and Kamomo Minami. Victoria Yuzuki pinning Kamomo Minami with a moonsault in 14 minutes and 20 seconds. In a tag team match that Matt Turner's widely touting to be his match of the year, Utami Hayashishita and Riara defeated the Darkness Revolution team of Megaton and Gigaton. Utami Hayashishita pinning Megaton with the air raid crash in 14 minutes and 18 seconds. I will say now that I am fully aware that Utami does not call it the air raid crash, and I know I have it written down somewhere, the actual name of it, but for the life of me, I cannot find what it is actually called. So if anyone out there knows what it's called, please feel free to comment, because I don't want to keep calling it the air raid crash when it's not called the air raid crash. And finally, a 6-woman tag team match. The team of Nanae Takahashi, Seri Yamaoka, and Rea Seto defeated the team of Miko Ano, Natsumi Shozuki, and Hummingbird. Nanae Takahashi picking up the win over Hummingbird in 19 minutes and 18 seconds. So, Matt Turner, let's delve into these. We opened with that singles match, Misa Matsui and Nagisa Takibana. What did you think of this, my friend?
I think this is the formula as far as openers go that Marigold needs to follow. You have kind of an established wrestler, an established star, and Misa Matsui, somebody that just came off a championship challenge back in Corkin Hall. Nagisa Takibana is somebody that is, again, rookie, has only had a handful of matches, but is improving each and every outing. I think this is a great match because you had Misa leading the match and Misa leading the match and Nagisa following really well, and Misa giving a lot to Nagisa Takibana, especially the fact that you have Misa Matsui as the clear heel, Takibana as the clear babyface. Easy story to tell. And again, I think this is a smart formula for Rossi to do on these quote-unquote Wrestle Universe shows. Solid match. Wish I got a little bit more time because, again, Nagisa is somebody that I think they should start giving more time in the ring to, because I think that she can really go and flesh out her story and her character and her moveset. But I thought this was a solid opener, 3.25 stars for me.
I am a big fan of Nagisa Takibana, and the reason being, since her return from injury, and this is something I feel like I say all the time, but since her injury, she is someone that has come back with renewed vigor, with renewed aggression, and something I quite like on the undercard of these Marigold cards is the feud between Takibana and Ryoko Sakimura, because as we know, Ryoko Sakimura has picked up her first victories in the company. Nagisa Takibana is still waiting on hers, and you can see that frustration permeating Takibana, and I'm a big fan of that. And I'm really impressed with how Takibana has come back from that injury. Misa Matsui, of course, we wax lyrical about her, and we're going to be talking about a match she had with Miko Ano on the show next. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. We move then to a four-way. Mai Sakurai, Ryoko Sakimura, Minami Yuki, and Chiaki. Mai Sakurai picking up the win in relatively easy order, Matt Turner, over Ryoko Sakimura with the STF.
Yeah, this was all killer, no filler. 5.5 minutes, I believe you said, partner. This was, as soon as the bell rang, everybody was trying to get a quick win. You know, nobody's getting paid here by the hour. Again, Chiaki is somebody that's ever improving really good, especially as a heel. Doing a great job. I think I say this each and every week. I'm going to say it again. Doing a great job bending the rules and then breaking them, but not in front of the referee. She's doing a great job getting heat and feeding a comeback. Her and Mai Sakurai, they've had really good chemistry. We have seen on these tag matches and their four-way here. I would not be shocked, and I would love to see Chiaki get a championship shot coming up sometime soon, especially if Mai Sakurai does retain this weekend, which, again, we'll get into the card a little bit later on. And again, Minami Yuki was terrific, and Ryoko Sakimura, very much like Nagisa Takibana, ever improving. Again, all killer, no filler in this match. Really great stuff. I had it 3.5 stars, and I liked how it finished. Sakurai's the champion here. She's the veteran. As soon as she gets the opener, she puts that STF on, and she gets the tap-out win. Really solid stuff, my friend. These two matches back-to-back to start the show, I thought was really, really good way. Really hot start from Marigold here.
And then we moved on to Celine Flora versus Chikagoto and Komomo Minami, which was actually my favorite match on this entire show. Celine Flora are, this sort of plays spoiler to what I'm going to talk about a little bit later on the 10th in Osaka 176 box. I want Celine Flora to be the ones that dethrone Magenta. Now, if you were to ask me what my series of events are going to be, is that Victoria Yuzuki will probably drop the Superfly title to Mayu, and then after a couple of defenses, it will be Celine Flora that dethrone Magenta as the Twin Star champions. Now, during this run of 4 shows, Kazuna Tanaka, I believe, eats the pin in 3 of them. However, considering she is on the losing side more often than not, she was phenomenal throughout these shows. Her fire, her grit, the fighting spirit that she showed, especially against Nanae Takahashi in Gifu, and again in Osaka, really pairs well with the ambition, the passion, and the sort of ambitious offense of Victoria Yuzuki. I'm a big fan of Chika Goto's sort of renewed facade at the moment, because her personality of just, basically no frills wrestling. I'm a big fan of that determination that she's showing. And this match ultimately culminated in a really, really, really solid tag team bout. And again, showed why Celine Flora are one of the most exciting teams in Marigold at the moment.
Yeah, Rob, I had 2 thoughts in my head. 1, this was my favorite match of the show, which you did said. And 2, I would like for Magenta eventually, not soon. I want the team a little bit of good run, drop the belts to Celine Flora. So again, my man, halfway across the world, me and you are on the same wavelength, which could be good and or scary at the same time. But you did make mention Kazuna Tanaka eating a lot of pinfalls. If you look at the last 2 Korakuen shows, probably the person that has elevated her stock up the most has been Kazuna Tanaka. She was
Absolutely
great. She was great in that 5-on-5 match versus Marvelous, and then her and Miko Ano absolutely stole the show, especially on the undercard for that. Again, their biggest Korakuen Hall that they've drawn in quite some time because of their, Mayu's Marigold debut. And she took advantage of both situations. And again, she's only been wrestling like 2 years, something like that. I think she's only 19 or 20, but she understands how to lose. Like, she understands how to get herself over in losing. And when you can do that at a young age and be young in your career, what's that going to say for you in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years from now? She's fantastic. This was a great match. Her and Victoria Yuzuki, they work so well as a tag team, literally to the point, because on a lot of these shows that we're going to be talking about here in moments, that they're teaming with Utami. And Utami does a good job setting up Celine Flora for their great tag chemistry. Again, they were second to none here. You're right. Chika Goto was terrific. Komomo Minami has a completely new look, refreshed, looks terrific, especially coming back from that injury. And Komomo and Chika Goto, they worked really well together, but ultimately it was just that fantastic tag team experience from Celine Flora. Again, really, really solid match. My favorite match from the show. 3 3/4 stars, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for one of my favorite tag teams in a stacked tag division over at Marigold, buddy.
Moving on to, in my opinion, what was sort of the centerpiece match of this show. Now, obviously, this wasn't the best match on the card, and I think that's a bit of an understatement. And we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, because if you watch this match, you will know that, it's a Megaton match, and she was not in the mood to sell. However, what I want to focus on is Riara. And the reason I want to focus on Riara is that Sonny Gutierrez brought up on commentary at the Korakuen Hall show about how this was her hometown show, but also the fact that basically her parents disowned her for wanting to become a pro wrestler. And that when it came to this show, she had reserved them seats. Now, if anyone in the know is listening to this show, I would love to know if Riara's parents, A, were there, or if they were part of the conglomeration that gave out the flowers at the start, because you could clearly see how much this meant to her. And it's stuff like that that makes a match special. Now, is this match going to be one we are talking about in the next couple of weeks as a match of the year contender? God, no. Absolutely not. There was lots of little things that went wrong in the match, which happens in pro wrestling. It just happens. What I want to know is, did Riara's family come, and, were they proud of her? Because I'm proud of her. I know it means very little from someone who doesn't know her, but she's worked extremely hard to get where she is, and for her to have this opportunity to wrestle in front of them, I hope beyond hope that they were there. So if anyone that knows is listening, please let us know, because I would love to know.
Yeah, she's obviously worked hard and sacrificed a lot to get to where she's at. So again, if she, and she's going to keep working hard because she's on this big stage that is Marigold. So yeah, I echo Rob's sentiments. If anybody does know if her family was there, please let us know. Please let us know. Again, as far as this match goes, I don't like to talk about matches that especially with Utami in the match. Let's just say I text Rob as soon as this match was over, and I'm a positive person, so we can move on whenever you're ready, buddy.
Okay, yeah. I will just say that I'm not surprised that Gigaton isn't very well, because the way she was laughing maniacally throughout this match, the chances are that she needs a couple of days to recover. She was fully into the gimmick during this match. Main event time, Nanae Takahashi, Sari Yamaoka, and Rea Seto versus Miko Ano, Natsumi Shozuki, and Hummingbird. Now, Matt, we have obviously put the Marigold standard curse on Hummingbird, because we mentioned in the last episode that she was picking up a lot of wins, and would potentially be honing in on that Superfly Championship again. Since we mentioned that, she's lost every single match. So I'm wondering if we have accidentally put the kiss of death onto Hummingbird.
Is this the part we apologize, like on the Stardom cast, where I usually weekly apologize for me being upset over the heel turn from
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We apologize, Hummingbird. We think you're great, but hey, you were in the main event here, across the ring from a legend and tagging with two fantastic wrestlers. Rob, they say like styles make fights, and Hummingbird, Sari Yamaoka, they're yin and yang. They have completely different styles. One is the amateur wrestler that doesn't wear a mask. One is the luchador, high flyer, explosive wrestler, high speed style wrestler that wears the mask. But for some, we've seen this happen before with the two of them. Like, their chemistry really works together. Like, they just use, the ground and pound from Sari Yamaoka, and then the high flying style speed of Hummingbird, and it really works together. They had some great interactions here. Again, Rea Seto, main event, Rea Seto once again.
Main event, Rea Seto. God, that was really hard for me to say that. I was like, main event, Rea Seto.
That's very much like the Konami Ruaka.
Oh, God. I've just had a mare the last couple of weeks, guys. I'm so sorry.
And the fact that we did it on the live podcast and you totally got called out, and then we made a thing of it. Miko Ano, obviously the main crux of this match is we're building towards Miko Ano and Nanae Takahashi for the big show coming up here in just a few weeks' time. That's what this match did. At the same time, I know that they already dropped the tag belts, but I would love to see Nanae and Sari Yamaoka defense against Natsumi Shozuki and Miko Ano, because their exchanges were really good. And we made mention before about Magenta probably having a couple successful title defenses before dropping them to Celine Flora. I would love to see the team of Miko Ano and Natsumi Shozuki get a crack at said championships, because they are great. They're great as a tag team. They're great as a single. Again, Natsumi was terrific here. Her exchanges with Rea Seto were really good. And then Miko Ano comes in and just drops the hammer. And then, speaking of the hammer, eventually Nanae Takahashi comes in and drops the hammer on poor Hummingbird with that brutal Blue Thunder powerbomb. Really, really solid match. This was like a very fast card, and everything really, really hit. But I thought this was a great way to send the fans home happy with a hard-hitting match that is just giving us a preview to that big retirement match coming up in 2 weeks' time. Buddy, I had this match at 3 and 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I think every single main event on these shows really, really, really delivered. And for the most part, the undercard as well really, really delivered. And that's where your rookies like Nagisa Takibana and Rea Seto especially, who I'm always so full of praise for. I think she was so fantastic over these shows. The match with Miko Ano, her performance in the main event when she was given that nod, I think she has been absolutely fantastic. And clearly Marigold are putting a lot of stock in her as well. Though it does make me laugh, because every time she gets to the ring, she either stands in the wrong corner or does the wrong thing. And it just makes her so much more relatable, because she just does seem so genuinely sweet when it comes to that. So moving on then, we are looking at night number 8 from the 6th of. We are looking at the show from Sendai Pit. The announced attendance inside Sendai Pit was 225. Now, this is a 7.14% increase on Marigold's previous house at Sendai Pit, which was 210 on the 14th of February. And it is the second highest attendance of the 5 shows the company have run there, the highest being 329 from the grand opening Wars Tour all the way back on the 29th of June 2024. So it's only a small increase, but it's a big increase in the fact that we are now sitting as the second highest Sendai Pit attendance for Marigold. Looking at the results then, we open with a tag team match, Chikagoto and Kamomo Minami defeating Ryoko Sakimura and Riara. Chikagoto getting the win over Riara with a giant swing in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. 6-woman tag team action, the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui, Megaton and Gigaton defeated Hummingbird, Nagisa, Takibana and Minami Yuki. Misa Matsui picking up the win over Takibana with the best flying knee in the business in 8 minutes and 25 seconds. Tag team match, Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki defeated Darkness Revolution, Nagisa Nozaki and Chiaki, with Natsumi Shozuki picking up the win over Chiaki with a modified head scissors cradle in 11 minutes and 38 seconds, which really was something of a hidden gem on this run of shows. If you haven't already, go out of your way to check out this match because it is really, really good. Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki, a good team. Semi-main event, singles match. Miku Aono defeated Rea Seto, submitting her with the 39 lock in 12 minutes and 44 seconds. And then in your main event, 6-woman tag team action, Nanae Takahashi, Mirai, and Seri Yamaoka defeated Utami, Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka. Nanae Takahashi obliterating Kazuna Tanaka with the Quimby Bomb in 19 minutes and 42 seconds. Matt, there was a tremendous amount to like on this show. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I think as a whole, it was probably my favorite show of the 4, simply because the standard was so high. You know, the average standard across all of the matches was so high. I thought Miku Aono versus Rea Seto was great. The main event was really, really good. Yes, I know Nanae Takahashi picked up the win over Kazuna Tanaka as she is going to. It's her retirement run. But I think that Kazuna Tanaka, she was given a tremendous amount, kicking out of a lot of Nanae Takahashi's offense and showing a lot of fight. I thought that tag match, as I mentioned before, Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki versus the Darkness Revolution, was also a really, really solid tag match. And we opened with a solid tag match as well, Matt. Chikagoto and Kamomo Minami and Ryoko Sakimura and Riara. What did you think of this one, my friend?
Yeah, this was another solid opener. Again, they kept everything basic, told a good story in 7.5 minutes. And again, the team of Chikagoto and Kamomo Minami really seemed to be gelling well together. And Chikagoto is somebody that is very, for lack of a better term, passionate. She's definitely over with the crowd. Having her come out match number 1 to her entrance, again, she's not only good bell to bell, but she's great curtain to curtain. Like, you know, you're seeing somebody special when she cuts the curtain. She has her fancy little entrance, the Chikagoto thing that she does. So it's a good way to start this show to get the crowd hot. Again, solid enough match, 3.25 stars, and it's great. It's great seeing Go Chika pick up the win on match 1 of this, as you mentioned, partner. Really, really good card. Again, 3.25 stars for me.
Moving on to a 6-woman tag, Nagisa Takibana, Minami Yuki, and Hummingbird against the Darkness Revolution. And again, Matt Turner, the best flying knee in the business, gets the job done. I said I wanted to see it as a finishing move more often, and we delivered here with Misa Matsui.
Yeah, again, we made mention about just kind of the underrated chemistry that Nagisa and Misa had on the match the show we just reviewed. Really great stuff here, especially towards the finish. Obviously, Megaton and Gigaton, they're going to come in, they're going to do their comedy, they're going to do their shtick. I thought Minami Yuki was solid, and Hummingbird had some really great sequences with Gigaton. So possibly, if Gigaton is or is not Naomi Ishikawa, that would be a match that I would like to see. But ultimately, this was just building back up Misa Matsui. I think that they're going to really put a lot of steam on her heading into the Dream Star towards the end of the summer. 3.25 stars for me, my friend.
Moving on then to a hidden gem on this run of shows, Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki against Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. Nagisa Nozaki and Mai Sakurai revisiting their United National Championship match and really hitting each other very, very hard. But for me, it was Natsumi Shozuki and Nagisa Nozaki as a partnership in this match that worked so very, very well. And again, Matt, you brought up Chiaki, just under the radar, doing her job really, really, really well as this underhanded heel. And again, we saw flashes of them using the 10 million yen or 10,000 yen. I think it's 10,000 yen, not 10 million. That Nagisa Nozaki stole from Mai Sakurai in that tiny little briefcase. And again, utilizing the referee getting distracted to attack rather than doing it in the referee's face. But it didn't take away from the match. And it was that sort of brutal exchange between Natsumi Shozuki and Nagisa Nozaki that I did enjoy so much.
Yeah, this was great. You're right. An absolute hidden gem from these 4 shows that we're reviewing. Again, Nagisa and Chiaki, they've been teaming, they're the only really team that's been teaming pretty much since day one of Marigold. And I know they've only been in existence less than a year, but you know what I mean, folks. I'm sure that they have the most tag matches in Marigold's short history. So they gel really well together. They're great as a tag team. And again, Mai Sakurai had a great United National Championship with Nagisa Nozaki. I really think that they are going to pull the trigger on one with her and Chiaki. You mentioned before Natsumi Shozuki, her stuff with Nagisa was absolutely blitzing. Really great, violent, hard-hitting stuff right up my way. And there was a really cool spot where Mai Sakurai hits the Shining Black and Nagisa rolls over to sell. And as soon as she gets done selling, here comes out of nowhere, 1,000 miles an hour, Natsumi Shozuki with the double knees, the running Samato. That was a really cool spot from 2 wrestlers that really don't team up that often. So I thought that was a really awesome tag team spot between the 2 of them. Ultimately, though, it is Natsumi Shozuki picking up the win with that really fancy roll-up that she had on Chiaki that seemingly came out of nowhere, getting the 3 count. I probably would have, again, if they are going with a Chiaki championship match, again, maybe that's just the way that I see it, I would have had her pick up the win here. But regardless, getting Natsumi Shozuki a win, heading into that 5-on-5 Marigold versus Marvelous match, not going to hurt her either. Again, you're absolutely right, partner. This was great, hard-hitting, right up my alley. Less than 12 minutes. They told their story. The heels got their heat. The baby faces got the comeback. Mai Sakurai looked like the star that she is in this match because, again, she is the unchampion, as you call it, buddy. Again, if you're pressed for time, folks, and you can only watch a few of these matches from these 4 shows, definitely take time to watch this one. I had it at 3 3/4 stars.
That's something that's quite interesting because, to my knowledge, I don't think they announced the captain of the 5-on-5. So for the Korakuen Hall show 5-on-5, they made a point of it being Chika Goto as the captain. I wonder if it is just going to be Natsumi Shozuki by default.
I think she's the biggest star on that team, isn't she, Rob?
That's what I mean. So let me just have a quick look. So you've got Natsumi Shozuki, Naoi Ishikawa, Hummingbird, Rea Seto, and Komomo Minami. I think by default, Natsumi Shozuki is probably going to be the leader of that team, even in terms of just flat out aggression, because she was the one who was also making the comments about Magenta and Magenta's just general apathy for the press conference and for the show in general. So it would make more sense to be Natsumi Shozuki. And of course, don't forget that she had the time limit draw with Maria as well at Korakuen. So she's got history with a member of Magenta. We then moved on to Miko Aono and Rea Seto, and I'm genuinely got a smile on my face for this match because I loved this match. Again, Miko Aono having a singles match on these cards shows how important she is because she's having these matches with rookies or with those lower on the card. And Rea Seto is someone who has massively improved, as we've talked about ad nauseum throughout the last couple of episodes of the Marigold Standard, and we saw it in spades here. That aggression from Rea Seto, going in for double leg takedowns straight away, something we didn't see, seeing those forearms being thrown with a lot more aggression and a lot more spice than we would usually see, and utilizing that submission game which is something that I'm really, really, really glad to see, because even that is far smoother than it used to be. Of course, Miko Ano is fantastic and absolutely destroyed Rea Seto when prompted, just as she did with Manami Yuki on a show we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But here I thought Rea Seto, again, I talked about Kazuna Tanaka being someone who in defeat got a lot of it. Rea Seto here, yes, she lost the match, but ultimately I think she her stock was raised by this match with Miko Ano, Matt.
I like the fact they gave this match time to tell their story. Like when it started out, I was like, oh, I hope this goes more than 10 minutes. They would still have a great 7-8 minute match, but they gave the match time to tell their story. They gave Miko Ano made Rea Seto look really, really good, make it look like she belongs in that main event. And I like it how it starts out with like some ground grappling, which Rea Seto kind of gets the better of Miko Ano. Then Miko Ano just starts blitzing her with the kick. She gets her opening. She does that Katsuhori Shibata style drop kick into the corner, and then you're like, oh, this is going to be a long or maybe a quick night for Rea Seto, because Miko Ano's really pouring it on. But Rea Seto showed a lot of fighting spirit, a lot of resilience, a lot of fight, really brought the fight back to Miko Ano. Some really great forearm exchanges, and then whenever Rea Seto would be losing like the strike exchange, she would go to Miko Ano's arm, which I really like that. Eventually, though, it's Miko Ano that hits a head kick, and then that leads to the Achilles lock for the tap out. Rob Goodwin, I know you made mention. What is the name of said Achilles lock that she's calling this?
It's called the 39 lock.
Huh. That's 39 her baseball number?
I could not tell you, Matt. I couldn't tell you if that's a back number. I think
it is, because I think on our logo you have the jersey 39, right?
I could be wrong, but I think so. Maybe.
I think it is. Yeah, because I have Utami with a 3. Anywho, great match. I'm glad. Again, this is what, now that Marigold is flushing out their roster, they need to be taking these main eventers and wrestling the wrestlers that are only wrestling a year, 2 years, 3 years, and putting them 10, 12-minute matches on these Sendai pit shows, because that's how they're going to learn. And then us fans get to watch a dynamite match, because this was a dynamite match. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. I thought this was terrific. And again, showing that Rea Seto can hang with the heavy hitters that are Miko Ano.
Moving on to the main event, and we saw Nanae Takahashi absolutely battering Kazuna Tanaka. But as I mentioned before, Kazuna Tanaka showing that heart that made her the MVP of that Marigold versus Marvelous match in Korakuen Hall at the end of April. You know, she's turning around and slapping Nanae Takahashi across the face. Yes, ultimately she ate a tremendous amount of offense before being hit with the Quimby bomb. But ultimately, she showed a tremendous amount of heart, tremendous amount of fighting spirit, and earned a lot in the loss. Now, of course, you look at Utami and Mirai in this match, which was obviously a story point. These two just seem to... I don't understand how they managed to hit each other even harder, but they manage it. Victoria Yuzuki and Seri Yamaoka had a lot of time in the ring together. And I know that when Utami and Yuzuki failed in their Twinstar Championship match, it was noted that Yuzuki wanted to defend the Superfly title against Sari Yamaoka. Now, that's something that hasn't been resolved as of yet. And obviously, you've got Victoria Yuzuki, who professes to be the future ace of Marigold. You've also got Sari Yamaoka, who is the super rookie. That is a feud I imagine that we are going to see sooner rather than later, and one that could perhaps be a generational feud as we head into, you know, the first 3, 4, 5 years of Marigold's existence.
Yeah, that's a good point, partner. But let's not beat around the bush, because we're going to say this a few times on these shows. The team, Utami, Kazuna Tanaka, Victoria Yuzuki. That's King's Journey, right? That's got to be
absolutely.
Okay, that's got to be the first installment of King's Journey. Obviously, they worked really well together. The one, and again, we've said this with Utami when she was in Stardom, part of Queen's Quest, and we've been saying it here on the Marigold Standard, which now she's part of Marigold. She does a great job on these tag matches or these multi-person matches of setting up her partners for success in the ring, and that's what she did with not only Kazuna Tanaka as a single, not only Victoria Yuzuki as a single, but Celine Flora as a tag. Again, she's the best wrestler in this company. She is wearing the belt that says so. The proof is right there on your screen, folks. So what is she doing? She's getting other people over in the mix in this main event match. So I really like that. Obviously, again, we know what this match was going to be about. It's going to be about Mirai and Utami selling more tickets and more pay-per-views to their match coming up here in just a few weeks. Again, we saw it do it with Bozilla and Utami when they built up to their match, and they're doing it the same here. Just, on somehow a more violent level than Bozilla and Utami did, which is weird for me to say because Bozilla and Utami was built up perfectly, and somehow this is built up even more violent than Bozilla and Utami. Anywho, I digress. You mentioned Victoria Yuzuki and Sarah Yamaoka. They start this match out hot. They started where Victoria Yuzuki is using that high speed, the superfly style, to really try to befuddle Sarah Yamaoka. Sarah Yamaoka eventually slows down the super flyweight champion, really tries to ground and pound her. But then I like how Kazuna Tanaka comes in to her rescue. As like, no, this is my tag partner. We get great double team work on the super rookie that is Sarah Yamaoka. Great stuff with Nanai and Victoria Yuzuki. Again, that was the very first match in Marigold history, and they had a great match just a few months ago. But again, ultimately, it boils down to Mirai and Utami, just really great stuff back and forth. We get a really hot sequence with all the wrestlers kind of hitting big moves, waterfall style finishes. But ultimately, it is the Queen Bee Bomb that plants poor Kazuna Tanaka into the mat, and they may still be trying to scrape her up afterwards because, boy, Nanai Takahashi really planted the daughter Minoru Tanaka in the mat. My favorite match from the show, one of my favorite matches of these 4 shows. This was terrific. I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, again, this was a really good show from start to finish. Perhaps my favorite show of the 4. Not my favorite match, but we'll be talking about that in a moment. So as we move on from Sendai Pit, move to Osaka 176 box. And of course, this was from Saturday, the 10th of May, 2025. And this have the Twinstar Championships on the line. Nanae Takahashi and Sari Yamaoka defending the belts. They have been champions, for 111 days. And this would have been their 4th title defense against Marvelous's Magenta, who, of course, have recently turned heel. It was their first match since their heel turn at the 5th of May's Marvelous show in Korakuen Hall after they were eliminated from the AAAW Tag Team Title #1 contendership tournament by rookies Sora Ayami and Senka Akatsuki. Now, what is worth noting in terms of the attendance is that the attendance was unannounced at the time of writing. Now, this is the 9th time Marigold have run the venue, meaning it is 3rd in terms of the company's most run venues. 3rd only to Korakuen Hall, which they've run 15 times, and Shinkiba First Ring, which they've run 11 times. This is the only time the Marigold have not announced the attendance from 176 box. Their current average sits at 332, though this will obviously change should the official attendance be released. In terms of our results, then, we open with a tag team match. Komomo Minami and Minami Yuki defeating Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa Takibana, with Minami Yuki pinning Takibana with the wrist clutch backdrop in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. In a singles match, our Lord and Savior Flying Penguin defeated Megaton with a camel clutch in 8 minutes and 39 seconds. 6-woman tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Gigaton defeated Natsumi Shozuki, Chika Goto, and Hummingbird, with Chiaki pinning Hummingbird with an Argentine Buster in 10 minutes. Singles match, Mika Wano defeated Misa Matsui with a Styles Clash in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. 6-woman tag match, Mirai Mai Sakurai and Rea Seto defeated Utami, Hayashishita, Kazuna Tanaka, and Victoria Yuzuki, with Mirai, again, there seems to be a theme developing here, obliterating Kazuna Tanaka with the Miramare Shock in 12 minutes and 36 seconds. And then in your main event, Marigold Twinstar Championships match, the Magenta team of Maria and Riko Kawahata defeated Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka with Rico pinning Syuri with the moonsault in 19 minutes and 12 seconds to become the 5th Marigold Twinstar champions. This ends, as I mentioned, Takahashi and Yamaoka's reign at 111 days and 3 successful title defenses, which puts them second in both categories to the inaugural champions, Mirai Saku. Now, just before we get into the show itself and talk about the results, even more exciting news coming out of Marigold, and that is that trainee Yuka Yamazaki came to the ring prior to the show in order to announce that she is set to make her official debut when the company returns to 176 Box on June 14th as part of the Burning Desire Tour. Yamazaki, an Osaka native, joined Marigold in March and will be the 3rd rookie to debut in Marigold this year, joining Syuri Yamaoka and Shino. And something that does need to be noted, and something that has been noted by people on social media, is that it is incredibly impressive to join a dojo in March and be making your debut in June. Now, that to me says that this girl has a lot of talent, and that's something that when you put alongside Syuri Yamaoka, the acclaim that is going alongside Shino, who is only 16, remember, it does look like Marigold have unearthed another diamond here, Matt.
Rob, I don't mean to brag, but well, obviously, and our longtime listeners know, I graduated from the Ring of Honor dojo. However,
may have mentioned it.
However, Rob, when I actually trained at a dojo before, and I graduated in 8 weeks. Now, that may be the reason why I had to go back to school, because I was like, maybe they rushed me through this, and I really don't know what I'm doing. So I might get trained by this little unknown guy by the name of CM Punk. But anywho, yeah, that is, all joking aside, that is crazy impressive to graduate from any dojo, especially a Japanese dojo, especially Marigold, where I believe like the head trainers are Utami, Nanai, and Mirai. So graduating that quick, basically saying, yeah, you passed your pro test. Wow. That is exciting. Again, this roster continues not only to grow, but to get better. Look at where Rea Seto and Kazuna Tanaka, where they were last year compared to this year. Look at obviously the 2 people on your screen with Ryoko Sakamura and Nagisa Takabana. We're going to get into them in a moment. Look where they were at 6 weeks ago compared to now. Even Manami Yuki and Kamomo Manami. Now you're adding in the stuff with Marvelous. You're adding in the stuff with now Mayu Iwatani's there. And now you're adding in all these super rookies. I mean, it's a great mix added to a great roster that is Marigold. So super excited to see, because it just seems like we have all these super rookies coming in to Marigold as of late with Syuri Yamaoka. Obviously, we got the new super rookie debuting at a big show, the big show coming up at the end of this month. And now you're telling me that somebody's graduating from a dojo that quick. It's exciting times, my friend. Exciting times for Dreamstar fighting Marigold. No doubt about that.
Indeed. I couldn't agree more, Matt. Again, when you look at the 3 rookies that have been getting the most acclaim in Shino, in Syuri Yamaoka, and then, of course, with Yamazaki, who will be debuting. And then you put alongside that the likes of Rea Seto, the likes of Kamomo Minami, who have been improving week after week after week. And then you put Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa Takibana on that. Marigold are developing a roster, and that is something that we mentioned, especially once the injury train had hit. That was something that they needed to do. They needed to garner a bigger roster. And I don't know if you saw this on social media, but Rossi has been looking at potential locations for a Marigold dojo. So that's something exciting to keep an eye on as well, because as we know from Summer Destiny, Marigold are currently using the LLPWX dojo, hopefully keeping it a little bit tidier than they were initially. Let's talk about this tag match then. Kamomo Minami and Manami Yuki defeating Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa Takibana. Again, Matt, we just talked about the future, and someone that I neglected to mention, how dare I, the 2024 Rookie of the Year, Manami Yuki. This was a little insight into what the future of Marigold might be like and the women that will be carrying the company. And there are some exciting things to look forward to here.
Yeah, literally. I mean, we just talked about the future is right in front of us with this match. Manami Yuki, great, ever improving. Komomo Manami coming off that injury, new look, looks like $1,000,000, fantastic. And I made mentions a couple weeks ago. I'm a big fan of Ryoko and Nagisa tagging together because they just seem to have really good chemistry. I think they were in the dojo right around the same time. And I think graduated at the same time. I think they made their debuts on the same show, so they're always going to have that kin to each other, very much like one me and Shane Hagedorn do. By the way, Shane Hagedorn's Ring of Honor book hopefully will be out soon, and we will be plugging that like crazy. But anywho, yeah, really good opener. Almost 10 minutes to tell their story. Again, great tag work with Nagisa and Ryoko. I think that they can go on a possible run, not as the tag champs, but like build them up properly to have good matches with Celine Flora, with a Mirai May Sakurai, with Magenta. I would love to see that in over the next 5 or 6 months because I think the tag divisions is where they need to be at this point because I don't see them challenging for the red belt, the white belt, or the super flyweight championship. But you can give them a proper run, make it look like they can, do some damage in the tag division because I think they're terrific. And again, Komomo Manami, I'm so glad she's back from injury because she is just terrific and just a great breath of fresh air in this fantastic roster that is Marigold. Again, 10 minutes, almost 10 minutes in the opener to tell their story. Hot opener. I always say you want to start your shows out with a hot opener, and this was a hot opener. 3.5 stars for me, buddy.
Moving on, then, we moved to Flying Penguin versus Megaton, the match that I would argue we were most excited about because it did bring back the return of singing your entrance theme, which thankfully came from Flying Penguin, not Megaton. No disrespect to Megaton, of course. But Matt, a Flying Penguin singles victory, similar to the match at Kurihara, there's not a great deal to talk about in this.
Other than the fact that Megaton is keeping her gimmick up of tapping before the hold even gets put in, because that was like she didn't even properly get the camel clutch in, and then she tapped out, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's her gimmick. Yeah, there's, yeah, there, yeah, it's funny. It's something that adds to her character. Does this match need to go over 8 minutes? No. Flying Penguin sang her theme. That was probably, the highlight of the match, and it's before the match happened. I did not rate this match, good sir. So yeah, that's that.
Okay. Let's move on then to a 6-woman tag. Natsumi Shozuki, Chika Goto, and Hummingbird coming out on the wrong side of the scoreboard with the Darkness Revolution team of Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Gigaton. Matt, again, lots of fire, lots of desire shown, especially by Chika Goto and Natsumi Shozuki. But again, not quite getting the job done. And Hummingbird again, eating the pinfall.
Maybe it's like once they take her out of like the first or second match, you know what I mean? Maybe she's just not at that level yet. You put her in match 1 or match 2, no problem. But no, she was great here. And again, Nagisa and Chiaki as a tag team are terrific. But yeah, you're right. Like Chika Goto and Nagisa, great violence there. Chiaki and Natsumi Shozuki, excellent stuff here. And Gigaton does work really well when she's kind of away from Megaton because you kind of have two of the same thing. So she was great. And we do see some flashes to maybe the person that she's closest with on this roster now, Ishikawa, because I do see some similarities there between the two of them. Again, I'm not saying they're the same person, but I think that they're friends, my friend. That would be my guess, because I think she's heavily influenced by the style of now Ishikawa. This was great. It was fast paced. It was hard hitting. Again, you have your heels bending and breaking the rules, but not in front of the referee. I thought Hummingbird, her closing stretch with Chiaki at the end here, I thought was really good, really interesting stuff. Ultimately, though, she does hit her version of the JP coaster for the win. I had this at 3.5 stars, and I thought 10 minutes was the perfect time to tell this story.
Mikawana and Misa Matsui. Now, this was something that I highlighted last week as a match that I was very, very excited to see. And actually, I think these two have another gear. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, of course. These two are ones that, for me at least, you are going to want to keep an eye on in the upcoming Dreamstar Grand Prix. I think you could very well argue that these two might even be finalists if you don't go down the Mirai path, especially as Misa Matsui ended last year's tournament with 2 points and was often the first person or second person on the card. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to seeing this as the final. I don't know if they will do it as the final, but I can definitely see Misa Matsui challenging at the top of her block. Therefore, I think they did a good job of having a good singles match without sort of blowing every big spot that they have and everything that they're capable of. So a restrained match, let's say, that was helped by Misa Matsui's heelish antics, but it's one that I know that if we do run it back on a bigger stage, whether that is a Korakuen, whether that's a pay-per-view, whether that is in the Dreamstar final, I know that they are going to blow us away, Matt.
Yeah, I think the only small problem with this match was 8.5 minutes. We were like, yeah, it could have went 12, 13, 14 minutes, but I understand you're probably saving that big one for a big match, maybe in the Dreamstar or maybe a potential white belt match, red belt match in the future. Again, this was still great. I gave it 4.25 stars. It was one of the highest rated matches from these 4 shows. That isn't on a Gaze at Giulia, which we will get into at the end of this show because something is in the water over there at WWE. Boy, howdy. But again, this is really good stuff. You did have the heel tactics from Misa Matsui. Eventually, Miko Ano makes her comeback. By comeback, I mean the slaps, the forearms, the strikes, the lariats. And then Misa Matsui is able to weather the storm and then use that high-paced offense to get the advantage on Miko Ano. She hits a brutal top rope double knee stomp. Miko Ano is able to fight back, showing that fighting spirit, showing that passion fighting spirit, Rob Goodwin, if I can use a phrase. She hits a brutal head kick and a sliding lariat that scored her a 2 count. And eventually, though, she keeps the aggression on, which I like, hits the Styles Clash for the 3 count. And again, really solid match. I wish it would have went a little bit longer, but I liked how it finished with Miko Ano hitting 3 big moves back to back to back with that brutal head kick, that sliding lariat, and the Styles Clash to put away Miss Psycho Speed herself. Again, 4.25 stars, but you're absolutely right. I think if we see this in the Dreamstar or a big championship match in the next 6 months to a year, 2 years from now, that this will be something we'll be saying that was 4 3/4 to 5 stars. Again, solid stuff, but with more time and maybe more stakes on the line, these two can have a really, really match of the year candidate.
Moving on to your semi-main event, another chapter in the story of Mirai and Utami Hayashishita. This, I think, was one of the harder hitting matches. And what I really enjoyed in this match was that they actually kept Utami and Mirai a little bit more separate. They haven't been scared of having these two face off in the prelude tags, which I'm a fan of. But here, the story centered again more around Kazuna Tanaka. And whether that was just because they were doing the closing stretch with Mirai eventually putting her away with the Mirror Match Shock, or whether it's because Kazuna Tanaka attempted to sort of out-submit Mirai, which was a brave tactic and something that was impressed to see watching Kazuna Tanaka attempt to lock in that double wrist lock on Mirai, which is not something Mirai is often locked in, especially in Marigold. But overall, I thought this was really, really good. And again, main event Rea Seto, best thing I can possibly say is that she didn't stand out in this match in a bad way. She did not feel like she didn't belong in this main event, or in this sort of scene, should I say, alongside all this main event talent. Another really, really, really good match to add to the preludes. And again, just another step in heating up this rivalry between the pair.
Yeah, again, buddy, unfortunately, it's another loss for King's Journey. So, but we're good.
It needs to be a shirt. It really does.
Again, and obviously, Queen's Quest is like my favorite faction, like probably since the Horsemen. And for those of you that listen both in the Marigold and the Stardom cast, there will be, if I can remember, obviously we're recording Stardom cast tomorrow, there will be some Queen's Quest references that I'm going to throw at Rob. If I can remember, sometimes my brain goes all over the place, but they do work well. Again, Utami setting up the way she would set up an Azumi, a Sai Kamatani, a Hina, a Lady C, even though Momo was the leader at the time, Momo Watanabe. I do have Queen's Quest vibes when it's these three, which is a massive compliment, again, coming from me. But as far as what you said with Rea Seto, absolutely. Her and Kazuna Tanaka start really great chain wrestling. A lot of that old world of sport stuff from your neck of the woods, from my friends, from Johnny Saint, Steve Gray, really great technical wrestling back and forth. And you're right. Like, this is one of those preview tag matches that even though Utami and Mirai, they did interact, it was nothing like we've seen before, which is it's fine. Don't get me wrong. A lot of this was your first Twin Star champions of Mirai and Mai Sakurai using that teamwork. Like, you forget, like, oh yeah, these guys were these two were the first tag champions of this company, and they worked really well together. They did some great stuff using their teamwork to isolate Utami, using their teamwork to isolate Kazuna Tanaka, using their teamwork to isolate Victoria Zuki. And again, I would love to see a Celine Flora versus Mirai Mai Sakurai match somewhere soon, because I think that would be absolutely fantastic. Ultimately, though, we do kind of have that waterfall finish where kind of everybody takes everybody out. And then it comes down to a mini match with Kazuna Tanaka and Mirai. And Kazuna Tanaka, don't get me wrong, she was super aggressive, really aggressive. Mirai did a good job bumping, feeding, ring positioning, selling for Kazuna Tanaka to the point where, like, there's no way Mirai's going to eat a loss here 3 weeks before her big championship match, is she? Obviously, she doesn't, but it's in your head that that's going to happen because of how fiery Tanaka was, especially towards the end, and Mirai doing a great job putting her over. Ultimately, she hits a wicked lariat and a 360 Mirror Mirai shot, planting Victoria Zuki in the middle of the mat for the 3 count. Really fantastic match for me, my friend. 4 stars.
And we move on to the main event, the Twinstar Championships match. Obviously, a freshly heel Magenta against Syuri Yamaoka and Nanae Takahashi. And something that I have enjoyed in over the last couple of days is Magenta seemingly following Rossi Ogawa around, taking photos with him in the background, and then admonishing him on Twitter for being in the background of their photos. Which really does make me laugh. I think Rico Kawahata especially has been embracing this heel role. Although on this graphic, you have to admit that Maria looks very, very similar to Momo Watanabe. She's giving me big black peach vibes.
Momo Watanabe in like 1998 Marilyn Manson, Rob. That's what I'm getting. Right? Am I right?
The beautiful people, the beautiful people. Indeed. Maybe that's what they need to be called in future, not Magenta. But even though this was their first match as a heel tag team, and you know, sure, there needs to be, you know, a few things refined. I thought they did a very good job. Of course, it was the exact same thing we said about Saya Kamatani. You know, it's her first time as a heel. There's a few things that need to be refined. I thought this was a great match. I thought this was really, really good, the way that Magenta were able to completely isolate Syuri Yamaoka from Nanae Takahashi. You know, Nanae Takahashi was used exactly as she should have been, as that bull, as that, you know, that hot tag, whilst Syuri Yamaoka just had her arm absolutely obliterated by Maria and Rico. Rico Kawahata, by the way, underrated moonsault. Really, really lovely moonsault. I thought her kicks looked really good. I know I've said this before, and I will say it again. I didn't realize that Rico was the person who was playing the Great Sequoia, or the Great Muta's daughter. Didn't realize it was her. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Really, really enjoyed it. I knew I would do. It's my favorite match over the 4 shows, perhaps unsurprisingly. But I thought they meshed really well. I thought it was Syuri Yamaoka's best performance as well, because we've often seen her on the receiving end of beatings, not this sustained. And I actually thought that here she fought from underneath really, really, really well. Excellent performance, thoroughly enjoyable match. Magenta are your new Twin Star champions, and I think it was the right decision, Matt.
Rob, you know when I realized that Ryoko was the Great Sequoia?
Go on.
About 30 seconds ago when you just told me, because where do I get all my Joshi news live on air from where I did not know? No, and I know I've seen it. Like, I've seen it whenever someone put it on Twitter, they'd put her name and they put in parentheses, you know, who is. And I was like, oh, so I know I've read it, and I just never put 1 and 1 or 2 and 2 together because I don't know. I was like, oh, so I just big ups, my man. Again, where do I get all my Joshi news from you? When? Live on air, buddy, because why not?
Absolutely. There you go, man. I'm glad I could help.
I appreciate you, brother, as always. Yeah, this was my favorite match of these 4 shows. This probably was my favorite show of these 4 shows, just because of how great these final 3 matches were and how hot the opener was. And obviously, Nanai and Syuri, they're your tag champions, but Magenta's been teaming longer. And that's the story told here. Again, you have the veteran that's getting ready to retire and the super hot rookie in Syuri Yamaoka, where Magenta comes in here with a great game plan. They're the heels. They kind of bend the rules a little bit. They really don't break them. They do a great job getting heat on Syuri, and Syuri does a great job selling. We haven't really seen how well she can sell this young into her career because she's kind of been dominant since her debut, and rightfully so. So she does a great job building sympathy with the crowd up. Again, the Magenta game plan here is divide and conquer. Let's take out the weaker link. And no disrespect to Syuri Yamaoka, but obviously she's only been wrestling a handful of months. I think Nanai's been wrestling twice as many years as Syuri's been wrestling months, give or take. So it's like then anytime Nanai comes in, it's like we're going to use teamwork to take her out. And that was a great strategy. Really great stuff back and forth. Great closing sequence. I knew because it was spoiled for me online. I had no problem with that. But if I didn't, I'd be like, I don't know which way this is going to swing just because of the way that Nana, and she's been doing this forever, the way she builds up her finishes. She is a great finish person, where it's this long, drawn out, dramatic roller coaster finish, especially in these big championship matches. And this is second to none. This was terrific. But ultimately, you're right. When Ryoko hit that moonsault, I was like, ooh, put that in like the top 5 in all of wrestling. That was really good. And I haven't seen as much as Magenta as I would like. But it looks like that I'm going to be seeing a lot more of them because they are the new Marigold Twinstar Tag Team Champions. And I hope that they do have a little bit of a run. I don't want them just to be transitional champions and then drop it to, King's Journey or anybody like that, because I think this marvelous feud that they're having has a lot of legs to stand on. And I mean, you may see a tag team challenger come out of Shine Forever because they are in said match. So there's a possibility that you may see Kamomo Minami and Natsumi Shozuki be the next challengers, or however, they break it up. But I think this is really good. This is great. Obviously, we knew that Syuri and Nanai, when they won the belts, they weren't going to have them for long because Nanai's retiring, towards the end of the spring, the end of May, again, 2 weeks away. So we weren't sure who was going to win the belts. Obviously Misa and Chiaki, they had a shot at it not that long ago. I think Magenta is the team to go to because they're an established tag team. They're a tag team that if you only follow Marigold and Stardom, which is, a lot that me, you, and a lot of our listeners do, you really don't know too much of them, but they're phenomenal. Now we're going to be seeing them a lot more. They're going to be in Marigold a lot more, and they're going to be wrestling the great tag teams of hopefully Mirai Sakurai, hopefully Kazuna Tanaka and Vittoria Zuki, hopefully Amayu, and take any other member of the roster, because again, I think Magenta is one of the most underrated tag teams in Joshi, and this is going to be their opportunity to shine. And I think they're going to hit an absolute home run. 4.25 stars for me, partner.
So moving on then to our final show, and we are going to Gifu, and this is Marigold's debut in Gifu. We are moving to, of course, the night 10 of the Rise Tour, and we are in the Juroku Plaza in Gifu, Sunday, the 11th of May, 2025. The announced attendance was 285. Now, not only is this Marigold's first show in the venue, it's their first ever show in Gifu. Now, excluding Nanae Takahashi's produce show and Korakuen Hall event, 285 marks the highest attendance the company have drawn since the 305 they drew to KBS Hall in Kyoto on the 5th of April. So a lot of good things again to come from this. And on top of this, of course, it will mark the Marigold debuts of both Cookie and Marimanji, who both wrestle for Gifu-based promotion Yanagasi Pro Wrestling. It will also be the first collaboration between the two promotions. In terms of the results then, three-way match, Ryoko Sakimura defeated Nagisa Takibana and Cookie, with Sakimura submitting Takibana with the spider entanglement in 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Tag team match, the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Gigaton defeated the Natsumi Shozuki and Hummingbird team, with Misa Matsui pinning Hummingbird with the diving double knee drop in 11 minutes and 9 seconds to complete a miserable run of 4 shows for poor Hummingbird. Tag team match, Mai Sakurai and Miku Aono. Oh my God, give me these as a tag team again. Defeating Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. Miku Aono pinning Minami Yuki with a buzzsaw kick to the head in 13 minutes and 17 seconds. Six-woman tag team match, Nanae Takahashi, Sari Yamaoka, and Rea Seto defeated Mirai, Komomo Minami, and Mari Manji, with Nanae Takahashi pinning Mari Manji with the sliding D in 13 minutes and 34 seconds. And then in your main event, the six-woman tag team match, Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Izuki, and Kazuna Tanaka defeating Darkness Revolution, Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Megaton, with Utami Hayashishita pinning Megaton with the air raid crash in 16 minutes. So, Matt, we opened with the Marigold debut of Cookie, only debuting in December, so less than 5 months experience for the Yanagasi Pro Wrestling youngster. But I would argue that this match was far more about Ryoko Sakimura and Nagisa Takibana's escalating frustration at Ryoko Sakimura, because I think it was here we saw that frustration bubbling over more than usual, Matt.
Yeah, they're obviously probably going to a singles program, which again, I hope when they have their big blow off, then they become a tag team. Because again, I mentioned how well they're working as a tag team this young into their respective careers. So that could be the story going forward. Cookie here, I guess, was okay. Again, you have three relative rookies and young rookies wrestling a three-way 6 minutes. So it's like you're not going to have, anything insane. It was an easy story to tell. It's nice to see Cookie getting an opportunity wrestling for one of the bigger Joshi companies here in front of almost 300 people. So, good on her. Ultimately, though, it was her getting some stuff in and then kind of getting pitched out, and almost like a glorified singles match between Nagisa and Ryoko. I had it at 3 stars. I love the finish, the spider entanglement, that leg scissor submission. Really, really good stuff.
And it's something that Nagisa Takibana has tapped out to multiple times now. And I wonder if this is going to be a story moving forward. And that's something that I really like, the fact that we are getting stories throughout the card as well. And again, that's something that we can also talk about here with Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui, because no matter how often things change, they always stay the same. Natsumi Shozuki still very unimpressed with Misa Matsui's turn to the dark side, and let her know it throughout this match, Matt. And again, this was another match I thoroughly enjoyed.
This was fun for the comedic value, but the wrestling as well. Again, Gigaton is the better of the Tons wrestling. I don't think that's a hot take.
That should be their name, the Tons.
The Tauntauns, like in Star Wars, buddy, right?
Star Wars, there you go.
Oh my! We throw so much money at these Joshi companies that it's just.
I don't understand personally how they don't give us just jobs on creative. I mean, we're literally printing money for you. King's Journey, the Tauntauns,
the Konami Ruaka mashup that you did. I mean, it's right there. Living La Vida Loca. Can you imagine if they were just to take the faces of that group from Stardom and put them on random Ricky Martin outfits from the late 90s? I mean, folks, come on. How much money can we throw at you?
Absolutely.
And what they should do when they sell said merchandise, just give us like 10-15% of the cut. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's still going to come out to a couple million a piece at the end of the year, right, buddy? But anywho.
Absolutely. Of course it is.
This was you had your comedic stuff, you had your rule breaking stuff. Ultimately, you had 3 great, again, high speed Superfly style wrestlers, and Misa, Natsumi, and Hummingbird. And again, Gigaton when she's away from Megaton when they're not the Tauntauns. Happy, I know I'm 10 days late. Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. But no, really good stuff. Obviously, Misa and Natsumi, they have that rivalry that may go on forever. They may be the Marigold version of Azumi and Starlight Kid, which again is really, really high praise. And again, Hummingbird, terrific. I made mention before, she's got really great chemistry with Misa Matsui. But Misa Matsui is doing a good job making sure she's got chemistry with everybody, especially under this new Psycho Speed character that she's doing. Really great stuff. 11 minutes, perfect time to tell their story. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. This is one of my favorite matches from the show.
Mai Sakurai and Miko Ano versus Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. You talk about favorite matches on the show. This was up there as one of mine. Miko Ano and Mai Sakurai, again, forever rivals turned teammates. They work really, really well together. But Minami Yuki comes out of this match as the MVP. And the reason is during her eating some really quite hellacious kicks to the back from Miko Ano, which we sort of expect by this point. I don't know if you noticed the crowd behind her laughing in complete disbelief as Minami Yuki is begging Miko Ano to give her even more kicks. And there's one point where Minami Yuki even starts laughing because clearly the pain in her back is that much, which fair play to Minami Yuki is all I will say. A really good match, Matt, a really solid mid-card match on this show.
Again, we've seen Chikagoto and Manami Yuki. I think this was their third time they teamed up of these 4 shows, and they gelled really well together. Again, Marigold is doing a great job, and they really have since their inception, all the way back to 2024, Rob. You remember all the way back then, that they do a great job putting random people together for teams, and it works. The only thing is I think they need to maybe let it stick like they have with Celine Flora. Again, the only time that they kind of ventured away is when Kazuna Tanaka got injured, and then they put Vittoria Yuzuki with that up-and-comer Utami Hayashishita, and that worked really well. Anywho, point I'm trying to get at is after Shine Forever, if they're not doing anything with Chikagoto, because I would imagine her and Kokiyama are going to go into that singles program they had planned for the two of them at the beginning of the year, but then obviously Koki got injured. But if they're not going to do anything with her after that, have them make a run towards the belts, because they're terrific. Goto and Yuki work really well as a team. You made mention it before. Sometimes your bitter enemy, you also make really good tag partners with. And we've seen, again, my opinion, Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai at the beginning of the year. That is the best pure white belt match in the company's short history. I thought that was great. And probably a top 5 or 6 favorite match in Marigold's first year. They had an absolute banger. We've seen them team together, and they have really good chemistry as well. This was great, an absolute hidden gem of a match, hard-hitting, great storytelling back and forth, almost a nice 50-50 match between the two teams. And you're right, they did a great job shining up Manami Yuki. Again, Sakurai is your pure white belt champion. Miko Ano was your first white belt champion and probably main eventing one of your biggest shows of this year. Chikagoto is somebody that they definitely had plans for. So who's the one person that you really try to get over in this match? Manami Yuki. And they did a great job building this match around her. Ultimately, though, she does eat the pinfall with a brutal buzzsaw kick from Miko Ano. They're doing a great job building Miko Ano's strikes up, even more violent than they were to this match with Nanae Takahashi. Because, partner, that slap exchange they had at the press conference, wowzers. You would be like, this press conference must have been produced by Rasi Ogawa. You know, the same guy that had the press conference of Giulia and Tam headbutting each other until they bled. Like, that's the vibes I got from that. But they're doing a great job showing that Miko Ano may be able to KO the legend in her last match. And again, she does have that background. She does train at the K1 kickboxing dojo, and her striking was on another level here, 3 3/4 stars.
Moving on to your semi-main event, Nanae Takahashi teaming for the final time with Syuri Yamaoka. Syuri Yamaoka putting something on Twitter about how she will always be connected to Nanae Takahashi through their shared passion. Rea Seto, of course, also on this team, and I thought these three really worked really well together. Mirai, Kamomo Minami, and Marimanji on the other side. Marimanji, of course, eating the pinfall. Matt, an emotional time for Syuri Yamaoka, but I think her time with Nanae over the past, 5 months since her debut on the 3rd of January is going to be invaluable to her growth as she continues on this road. Again, she is 18 years old, and the things she will have learned from Nanae are going to be invaluable.
Not only that, but there's probably things that Nanae is teaching her and has taught her that in 2-3 years from now, she'll be like, oh, I thought it meant this, but it also meant this, this, and this. And that's life experiences that I, to this day, have from people that have taught me certain things. I'm like, oh, okay, it clicks later on in certain things. And my guess is obviously Nanae Takahashi is retiring from pro wrestling, but hopefully very much like Meiko Satomura isn't retiring from backstage stuff, because she has so much to offer the pro wrestling world as a trainer, as a consultant, as a producer. And you know that she's going to stick to Syuri Yamaoka as long as possible, only to make her better, which is crazy because she's already so good at age 18. Rea Seto here, again, she was terrific. Mirai really showed out. Mirai and Syuri Yamaoka, they had really great chemistry, especially in this match. I know Mirai had Syuri's very first match when she debuted a handful of months ago. That might be a feud or rivalry, Rob, that we may be talking about in the next 2 or 3 years, because Their stuff was really terrific. Ultimately, though, it's Nanae Takahashi getting the win with the sliding D. I had this at 3.5 stars.
And then finally, your main event, Utami, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka getting the pin. Getting the win, sorry, over the Darkness Revolution team, with Utami getting the pin over Megaton once again with the air raid crash. Megaton seemingly a lot more receptive of the beating she got from Utami. It was quite interesting actually, because she also put something on Twitter about the good time she was having in the dojo and the training. So big ups to Megaton for a constant improvement. But ultimately, this was going to go one way, and it did.
Rob, tell our listeners what way it went. Go ahead.
Utami pinned Megaton with the air raid crash.
Come on. Who won?
King's Journey picked up the pinfall over Darkness Revolution. How silly of me. How silly of me. You put it on a plate for me, my friend.
That's right. We're going to plug it home. Yes, they finally get their big win here at the main. You saved the best for last. Obviously, they lost a couple matches. This is the last Marigold match we're going to review. Save the best for last. Again, it's Utami Hayashishita, one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And again, setting up the Celine Flora team really well. And again, Jackie Nagisa Nozaki, phenomenal tag team. We saw some great stuff with Celine Flora versus the two of them. Obviously, Megaton and Utami, they kind of have that closing stretch. But I really, again, 16 minutes, plenty of time to tell their story. Really great stuff, getting heat on Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki. Obviously, Utami comes in. She's the hammer. She's the star of this match. But she only comes in and does what she needs to do so the crowd can, see it and appreciate it. But she doesn't hog the spotlight. She's never really been about that. She does a great job making sure Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka have great light shined on them. Again, she's so unselfish in the ring, whether you're teaming with her or you're across the ring from her. She's really one of one. There's not many wrestlers doing what Utami does. And not only is a great wrestler, but making sure everybody in the match looks really, really good. Again, great stuff from Jackie and Nagisa Nozaki. Jackie, I thought, was a hammer in this match. They did a great job highlighting her. I liked how the match finished, where you're kind of having all these big moves. So again, waterfalling finishes. Kazuna hit something big. Megaton hit something big. But it's like boom, boom, boom. Everybody's getting one highlighted move. And then basically you have your first tag champs and Jackie Nagisa Nozaki, your second tag champs. They kind of roll out of the ring, and then you hit the Celine Flora double dive towards that's your big spot at the mat towards the end of the match. They hit a perfect double dive to the floor, and then the next thing you see is Utami hitting the air raid crash on Megaton for the win. 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was a solid match and a really good storytelling match to send the crowd home happy, getting King's Journey a big win. And again, I love that finish with that double dive, and that leads to Utami hitting one of her big finishers in the middle of the ring. Really solid stuff from our Kings. Bow down. Or should we say crown the Kings, Rob? Because it's bow down to the Queens and maybe crown the Kings. Should we workshop that, or is that good? What do we think?
I think we should workshop it. I do like that. Maybe that will be what's on the shirt. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure they will sell like absolute hotcakes, like the Tauntauns shirt.
I was going to say the Tauntauns. That's locked in, right? We're not. Nothing needs to be workshopped. We're not changing perfection there.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't polish perfection.
Real quick, buddy, because now I'm thinking. So, and I know because you do all the artwork for our stuff and do a fantastic job. Are you going to put Megaton and Gigaton on actual Tauntauns going through like, Jakku or something like that?
Oh, I could do, couldn't I? I could do. Oh
my goodness. There's me and you are both giant Star Wars fans, so there's limited possibility. And then all of a sudden, maybe like it looks like they're going into battle, and it's the background of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Oh, we may not say anything. It's Disney, so we might get sued. We'll figure it out later,
sure.
buddy. Yeah,
it's all right. We'll change just enough.
Yeah, Disney's as tough as Metallica, and I love Metallica Disney, but they're pretty tough to get around copyrights. But anywho, the Tauntauns, buddy, I love it.
I'm pretty sure we're fine because we're not called Napster. Anyway, what came out of this, of course, was a new sort of mini tour that Marigold will be running. It is still technically a part of the Rising Spirit Tour, but it will see their return to Hokkaido. It will also see the return of Mayu Iwatani, who will make her debut as a full touring member of Marigold during this tour. So there will be 2 shows on the 17th of May in the Chateraise Gato Kingdom Sapporo. It's a venue that Marigold have run before. Most recently when Natsumi Shozuki and Misa Matsui did battle for the Superfly Championship. It's also the venue where Natsuko Tora defeated Maika for the red belt, but we don't talk about that. So they have announced the full cards for these. Please bear in mind that there will be card changes due to the illness of Gigaton. The first show, which is the afternoon show on the 17th, we'll see Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki versus Kazuna Tanaka and Rea Seto, Gamomo Minami versus Nagisa Takibana, Chikagoto Minami Yuki versus Darkness Revolution, Misa Matsui and Nagisa Nozaki, Miku Ono, Mai Sakurai, and Chan Yota, who is returning to Marigold action against the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki, Megaton, and Gigaton, the Tauntauns. In the semi-main event, Matt Turner, listen to this for a double preview tag team match. Utami, Hayashishita, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mayu Iwatani and Mirai.
Wow. Yeah.
That's not the main event. That's not the main event.
Oh, we're not done. We're not done. Go ahead, sir.
Nanae Takahashi versus Sari Yamaoka on the Passion Countdown.
Oh.
2 absolute blockbuster matches. That double preview tag match, though, goodness gracious me, just on a random Hokkaido show. That's a really, really, really good match. That's appointment viewing, and I'm really, really looking forward to that, brother.
Yeah, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. Again, these 4 shows were pretty solid, but it really just seemed like everybody was kind of waiting for Mayu. And again, they did make mention on commentary last week with that match, or 2 weeks ago with that match with Nanai, that's going to take Mayu a week or 2 to kind of get everything ready to go, and then she's going to be a full-time touring member of this roster. So again, these shows were really good. Don't get me wrong. It just seems like they were waiting for Mayu, and they're thrusting her right into something, my man. It's they're right into a big match. So super excited for these shows coming up this weekend, brother.
Moving on to the evening show from Hokkaido, again from the same venue, 17th of May. We have got Hummingbird versus Minami Yuki versus Nagisa Takibana, Kazuna Tanaka versus Komomo Minami, Sari Yamaoka and Rea Seto versus the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui and Megaton. Miku Ono and Chika Goto versus Mirai and Natsumi Shozuki. I will just repeat that. Another blockbuster tag match. Miku Ono and Chika Goto versus Mirai and Natsumi Shozuki. We've then got a 6-woman tag, which will see Mayu Iwatani team with Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki against the Darkness Revolution team of Chiaki, Nagisa Nozaki, and Gigaton. That is one match that has changed due to the absence of Gigaton. Unfortunately, I don't have the match corrections on me at the moment. These was correct at the time of writing. And then the biggest match potentially of these 3 shows, Mai Sakurai will defend the United National Championship against Chika Goto. So if she successfully retains the belt there, she will become the most successful champion, and will also become the longest reigning, I believe, but I could be wrong. Moving on to night 2. This is from the 18th of May. It's from Hakadate City General Wholesale Center Distribution Hall in that 3 times. And that match, that card, is as follows. Komomo Minami versus Nagisa Takibana versus Megaton. Sari Yamaoka and Minami Yuki versus Hummingbird and Rea Seto. Chan Yota versus Gigaton. Again, that match will be changed. Mirai, Nanae Takahashi, and Chika Goto versus Mai Sakurai, Natsumi Shozuki, and Miku Ono. And then in what is currently slated to be your main event, Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki, Kazuna Tanaka versus the Darkness Revolution team, Misa Matsui, Chiaki, and Nagisa Nozaki. However, just let me rephrase that. King's Journey, Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka versus the Darkness Revolution team of Misa Matsui, Chiaki, and Nagisa Nozaki, Matt.
Crown him. Rob, real quick, who is Mayu teaming with on the night show on the 17th? Because I think I might throw something else out here at you.
Oh, dear Lord. Mayu Iwatani teaming with Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki. I will say, though, the chances are that has changed. In fact, I'm pretty sure it has changed. I think it's a tag team match, but I can't remember who Mayu's tagging with.
Well, let's not ruin the fun. So, Rob Goon,
Okay.
would you say for one night only, this is the All Stars King Journey?
Christ.
Boom!
Oh,
Boom! I'm on a roll today. It must be this fancy new haircut. I think that's what it is.
It's late, ladies and gentlemen. I can only apologize. What I will say is news that has broken just as we were recording and something that's come through on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Eve, which is a wrestling promotion in London, UK, which I believe Will Ospreay has a hand in. They announced earlier that Syuri will be defending the IWGP Women's Championship against Alex Windsor for the first time, the IWGP Championship being defended in London. However, it has just been announced that Bozilla will debut on that show as well. So that is June the 6th. Bozilla will be on that card. Syuri will be on that card defending the IWGP Women's Championship against Alex Windsor. I believe that Zoe Lucas is also on that card in a tag team #1 contendership match, as is Session Moth Martina as well. In fact, yes, she is on that card, Zoe Lucas. It is pretty psycho against, and I just want to make this as abundantly clear as possible, this is the greatest tag team name in the history of the world. Big Beefy Bitches.
It's better than the Killer Bees.
It is better than the Killer Bees. So if you are UK based, then that is definitely a show you will be wanting to check out. Pro Wrestling Eve, June 6th.
Rob, I got two questions. Number one, how do we watch said shows? Is it on YouTube or pay-per-view? Do they have any information about that?
You can watch the show on YouTube. However, I believe it is part of a YouTube membership. So you will have to pay, but you can watch it through YouTube. Yes.
I think we might have to pay for that, sir. And that looks really good. And question number two, since you always throw it at me whenever Stardom's in my own country of the United States, are you watching said show and covering it for the Marigold Standard / the Stardom Cast?
Matt Turner, I couldn't possibly confirm or deny. I'm actually, and genuinely, I would show you, but I'm afraid my computer might break if I do it. I am actually looking at train tickets down there, so we will see. It depends. I might have to get in contact with Pro Wrestling Eve and see if we can maybe sneak an interview or two. We'll see.
I honestly thought you were going to tell me no, and I was very much like how I would not travel from Pennsylvania to California. The complete way for the country to cover Hanako wrestling on some random indie. So
it was the New Japan Academy show.
I was all set, ready to go for him. Like, he's going to say no, and I hope he says no, so I give him a taste of his own medicine. And you're like, yeah, I'm looking up train tickets. And I was like, oh, man, I was like 10 for 10 on the Tauntauns and the All-Star King's Journey. But I was like, man, like I thought I thought brother was going to dodge, but instead he weaved, and you hit me with an uppercut. That was good stuff,
Absolutely.
buddy. Good way to get towards the end of the show is you threw me off my kilter. I appreciate that, my friend. I like that. Keeping me on my toes.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one way to close this show. And no, it is not with King's Journey. It is, in fact, with a gaze at Giulia, but that doubles as something of an EO. And Kyrie. Because, Matt, as you are about to explain to everyone, we had the biggest crossover since Marvel and DC.
Rob Goen, this is a double-double because it is a double dose of gaze at Giulia. And then, obviously, we're going to be talking about the tag match from Monday Night Raw here on a gaze at Giulia. And then, because why not, we're going to be talking about it again on the Stardom Cast with Io and Kyrie watch. So, Rob Goen, before we head to Monday Night Raw, we're going to go to Tuesday NXT, Giulia, Jordan Grace. Folks, if you watch on my YouTube every Saturday, I do a top 5 favorite Joshi / female match of the week. This match finished number 2. Number 1 was obviously Mayu and Nanai from Cork and Hall. But I woke up Wednesday morning. I knew this match had happened, but my phone blew up. And this is a Stardom style match at Full Sail University. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, Jordan Grace is great. Don't get me wrong. And obviously Giulia's Giulia. I mean, one of our favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling. And my expectations were pretty high because I don't think I got to this until Thursday or Friday. My expectations were pretty high for everyone keep telling me, you need to see it, you need to see it, you need to see it. I'm like, okay, everybody's building it up. How great can this match be? Rob Goodwin and everybody that told me this was a Stardom style match in Full Sail University. You had a big lockup, great chain wrestling, power, forearms back and forth, some really sick headbutts. Jordan Grace hits like a pump handle, like 360 suplex and drops Giulia on her head. I went back and watched it, folks, for everybody saying that it was dangerous. Obviously, it was being safe. There's really great stuff back and forth between the two. We do see, as I'm looking at my notes here, because I saw this match a few days ago. So Jordan Grace hits a huge superplex into a jackhammer for a 2 count. Giulia comes back with a modified DDT and then changes that into the glorious driver for a big 2 count. Jordan Grace and Giulia have this really stiff exchange. Jordan Grace slips out of the Northern Lights bomb and hits an insane Aja Kong style back fist into the Jordan driver for the 3 count. I mean, there was great. The Michinoku driver that's been gift to death. That was insane. Again, folks, I went back and watched it. Jordan Grace clearly protected Giulia here. Regardless, this was Giulia's best singles match since she's left Japan. And she's had some great ones, don't get me wrong. Great tag matches, great singles matches. Her stuff with Roxanne Perez, I thought's been second to none. But this was a Giulia-style match. When I'm like, how are they calling us back? And I can see Jordan and Giulia like putting it together and be like, Jordan's like, let's do like one of those Cork and Hall sumo hall style matches that you did back in Stardom. Giulia's like, okay, no problem. And that's what they had here. Folks, if you have not seen this, go out of your way to see it. 4.5 stars. This was great. And again, Full Sail University, that crowd is into everything that they get. Because I believe the tickets are free and everybody just loves everything, whether it's an interview, whether it's a 4-minute match, a 5-minute match, a hardcore match. They're into everything. They obviously were into this and they were going wild towards the finish. It just added to the atmosphere. So, Rob, have you got a chance to see said match?
I haven't as of yet. It is on the list.
Yes, definitely go out of your way to go and see it, as I am going to now my second part of A Gaze at Giulia, which again, we will cover once again, because why not, on EO and Kyrie Watch. Folks, we go to Monday Night Raw. We go to Roxanne Perez teaming with Giulia to take on the team of Rhea Ripley and one Io Sky, Io Shirai. Rob Goodwin, this was the main event of this show. Giulia's debut on Netflix, her wrestling debut on Monday Night Raw, the flagship show for WWE for like 30 years. It's the main event. It was the main event, and boy, howdy, did she show out. I mean, this was really great stuff, especially with her and Io. Obviously, coming from the start, we love Rhea Ripley. We love Roxanne Perez. But if you're watching this match as a Joshi Stardom fan, you know that you want to see that dream match with Io and Giulia, two of the best wrestlers ever in Stardom history, former Wonder Champion, World Champion, 5-star Grand Prix winners. I do want to point out, Michael Cole did say when Giulia and Io were in the ring, Giulia, former World and Wonder of Stardom champion, which I really, really appreciate. And I could be wrong, Rob. I could be wrong, but I thought Pat McAfee said new episodes of the Stardom Cast every Friday. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny that. But Michael Cole thing, I did hear him saying they actually, a lot of our Stardom fans cut that little clip out and put it on social media, which I appreciate. Michael Cole showing some love for Stardom. As far as this match goes, I wonder why. I thought my notes were short. I have this on 2 pages. Io starts off the match red hot on Roxanne Perez, because the week before, Roxanne Perez and Io had a banger of a match. Io gets a clean win. Roxanne Perez shakes her hand, but then attacks her afterwards. So Io is spitting fire. Io comes out of this match red hot. Fez press to start, beating up Io. Eventually, Giulia comes in for the save. We get a long heat on Io. The crowd is waiting for that hot tag to Rhea Ripley. Eventually, Io hits the handspring dropkick, opens up the door. Hot tag to Rhea Ripley. Rhea comes in. Everybody's bumping and feeding. She's showing, obviously, she's the biggest star in this match. She's the most powerful person in the match. Eventually, the match spills to the outside. Io hits a suicide dive onto Roxanne Perez, but then as soon as she turns around, Giulia hits that one-legged dropkick on the floor to Io, because Giulia decides to take a full back bump onto the concrete floor, because why not? Eventually, back in the ring we go. Rhea hits a German suplex onto Roxanne Perez and then hits the Razor's Edge onto Roxanne, which really is the running 3, because Razor Ramon, when he did the Razor's Edge, he just picked you up and dropped you. But when Rhea does this, she properly throws you like Takumi Roha. However, they're paying homage to one Scott Hall, so I'm not going to complain about that. And Rea does a great job, especially because she's so big, Rob, and Roxanne Perez is like so small. So like she probably like whips poor Roxanne Perez across the ring. It's a really cool spot. Eventually, we get some really great double team work from Roxanne Perez and Giulia. Considering that they never really teamed before, their teamwork here was really second to none. Roxanne Perez hits a lion salt onto Rea Ripley for a 2 count. Io comes in for the save with the Joshi style dropkick to Giulia. Giulia then hits a glorious driver. She goes for the glorious driver onto Io. Io slips out with the Quesadora double stomp. And then she hits the top rope over the moonsault for a 2 count when Roxanne Perez breaks that up. And then we do see Rea Ripley and Io do almost like the Freedom style drop kick, where Rea basically is just picking up Io and she's just drop kicking everybody. It gave me like Freedom vibes with that drop kick. And of course, Io hits it almost as stiff as Mayu used to. Io hits a springboard drop kick to Roxanne Perez. Io then goes for a dive off the top rope. However, Giulia stops that and hits a top rope butterfly superplex, which, if you remember, was a big match Giulia staple back in the Stardom days. I thought that was great. She then transitions that into the Northern Lights bomb for a 2 count onto Io when Rea breaks that up. Roxanne Perez then goes for a top rope high cross body, accidentally hits Giulia. That opens up the door for Rea to blind tag in and hit Giulia with the Riptide for a 3 count. Phenomenal match, 4.25 stars. Again, if you have not seen this match, go out of your way to go see it. The match with Jordan Grace on NXT was great. This was phenomenal Joshi style tag wrestling with 4 great wrestlers, especially how over Io and Rea are as baby faces and how over Giulia and Roxanne Perez are just in general. This was a fantastic match that got time to tell their story, and kudos to the brass of WWE putting this match on last, because this was an absolute banger. And again, it's awesome. Again, Monday Night Raw is something I grew up on. The fact that these 4 women main evented Monday Night Raw on a worldwide platform like Netflix, buddy, this was terrific. Again, go out of your way to go see it. It does look like that they're building towards something with Io and Rea, because when they raised their hands, Rea was staring at Io's belt. And then they did a backstage segment that aired on social media with Giulia and Roxanne Perez kind of getting in at it. And I know it's something had like 1.2 million views either on social media or YouTube or whatever. So the fact that a Giulia, Roxanne Perez like backstage interview has garnered so many views in 24 hours really just goes to show the star power that is Giulia and Roxanne Perez. Again, if you have not seen these 2 matches, definitely go out of your way to see them, because they were next level.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will end it. For listening, and thank you for sticking with us. I apologize that my side of the screen kept disappearing for whatever reason. Hopefully that will be sorted by the time we do the Stardom cast tomorrow. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. If you could leave us a 5-star review and a comment, that would really, really help us out as well. Helps us spread the word of Joshi to even more people. If you haven't already, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, where you can get all of our episodes early and ad-free for $1 a month, as well as literally thousands of hours of bonus content as well. Check out the website, talkjoshi.com. Don't forget to check out our merch store as well. The link is below. Hana Kimura tribute merchandise is available for a limited time until the 1st of June. Every single penny that we make will be going to rememberhana.com. We will not make a penny, not make a cent, whatever denomination it is. We will not make any money off of that. And from the 1st of June, the merchandise will be taken off of the store. Okay, so please get it while you can, and hopefully we can put some money forward to Kyoko Kimura and to a great cause as well. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, apart from on Instagram, on Blue Sky, and on Threads, where you can find us at Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin, Mr. Matt Turner. Sign us off, good sir.
Yeah, just a really quick echo Rob's sentiments on the Hana Kimura merch. Obviously, everything is put up there. We've had a lot of orders, and thank you so much. Because again, it goes to a great cause, and it's Hana's going to live on forever in our memories, and it's going to be us that's going to keep trucking on. Giving basically showing love for the late great Hana Kimura. I do have the stickers; should be available in about 2 weeks. I've already pre-sold quite a bit, so if you're looking to get stickers, send me a message. And you might be saying, Matt Turner, where do I get a hold of you? And that's going to segue in where to get a hold of me. Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest and fastest and best way to get a hold of me. I'm also available on TikTok and the Blue Sky and Matt Turner OF as well. But folks, if you want to get a hold of me via the email system, I can't see Rob, but I can feel his energy. If you want to get a hold of me via the email system, folks, the email address simply is the StardomCast 22 at gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another jam-packed, fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.